Okay? Now, look at this one here. Okay? Now, there's a couple of things that we're not going to understand at first, but that's okay. Let's just get started together. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. Okay? Now, the red dragon is not a positive thing. Okay? We do not want to have anything to do with the dragon. It's always a symbol of Satan, right? We're going to see that in just a moment. Okay? And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon the head. And I'm not going into that tonight, okay? Look at the next part of it, though. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. Okay? So now we've got a clue here. We have something happening where a third of the stars are drawn by the tail. Now, have you ever seen any type of like a scorpion? Have you noticed that a scorpion has these little pinchers, and you got them right out in front, right? But if you're not careful, something sneaks around behind you from the tail, right, and gets you. All right? Now, this is what I want you to see. Something that the dragon did was able to take 1/3 of God's angels, 1/3 of the angels, 1/3 of the stars. You see what I'm getting at? Something he did was sneaky. Something he did was not fair. He done it from behind. Okay? So he he draws a third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Now let's go on. Remember, stars symbolize angels. So that 1/3 of the stars means 1/3 of the angels. Now how many angels do we have? So that's a lot. You take 1/3 of innumerable, right? There's still a lot of angels left, and there's a lot of angels we're dealing with here, okay? Look what Revelation 12:7 says. And there was what? War in heaven. Now, that is not something that I really, in my mind, can understand and grasp. We see war here, but heaven's where we want to go. Right? Heaven is a positive thing. And then we're finding out war began in heaven. And it goes on to say, Michael and his angels, the 2/3, fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought with his angels, the 1/3. Now, you and I might think that a battle in heaven, being a battle, would be very bloody because of the way we think of war today. That's not the type of war that's really the real war. You see, it has something to do with the mind, with the place where you have God in your heart. So the idea is, no, it wasn't done in such a way. It wasn't done in such a way to where it was a battle of bloodshed. This battle took place in heaven, and it was a battle over right and wrong in the mind. Okay? We're going to continue on to the next verse. Verse 8 says this, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. They were cast out of heaven. The third of the angels, along with this dragon. Okay? So now, let's move on. Revelation 9 tells you who the dragon is. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent. Now, I want you to key in on the word, that old serpent. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. That old serpent. He calls him the dragon and the old serpent. He calls him the devil, and he calls him Satan, that deceives the whole world. When Satan was cast out of heaven, you and I know that he took a position in the Garden of Eden. In his position in the Garden of Eden, deceived the world. Okay? And he hasn't stopped doing it today. Now, we know that he deceives the world. He was cast unto the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So as I have told you, it's nice to know we have angels out there. Okay? Now, I want you to picture something in your mind. The angels that are good, the angels that are bad, all originated in the same place. In other words, they were all good angels. But whatever Satan did, whatever this dragon did, was able to fool them, and they went too far, and that's why they're where they're at today. Let this be a lesson, because look what it says next. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth. That's us. Yes. The war was in heaven, and they were able to fool a third of the angels. Now he's down here with us. That's exactly what it's saying. Woe unto the heavens of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he hath but a short time. That in itself should make you and I tremble in our boots, because you and I weren't made in heaven. You and I were made upon this earth. And the devil was able to fool the angels. What about us? That's why tomorrow night's lesson will be very important to us, because that's where he's trying to fool. And I want you to know, tomorrow night we continue the story, but I've got to show you the fall in heaven first, okay? Now the second story about the real war is the same one, okay? But it just adds a little more detail, so we're going to go into that one. Now this one here is found in Ezekiel 28 verse 11. Now at first glance, you're going to say this is a king. That's what it says, okay? But it says, moreover the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, so this is, God was talking to Ezekiel. He goes on and says, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyre. So it is, at first glance, it's talking about a king. But listen to what it says about him. It says, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. So now, there's this king of Tyre that he's referring to. This man he's full of wisdom. This is the smart one. This seals up the sum. The sum is the addition of everything being put together. It's the answer. He has all wisdom and he has all beauty. Okay? Moving on. He says, Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Okay, so this person has been in Eden, the garden of God. We know that the garden of Eden is no longer in this earth. It wasn't there when Ezekiel got this vision. So the person that he's referring to cannot be a literal man, but it's figurative for what he's representing. And I'm going to show you who it is. Now, you realize this. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, right? God was in the garden, and so was that old serpent. You see what's happening? The serpent is another word for the devil. Okay? Thou hast been in the garden of God. Okay? Every precious stone was thy covering. The sardis, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and the gold. This man was really beautiful. He had all those precious stones covering him. That was his garments. Okay? Remember, he's the smart one. He's full of wisdom, full of beauty. He's got all these jewels on him. And he goes on to say, The workmanship of thy tabrets and thy pipes were perfect in thee in the day that thou wast created. So we know this cannot be anybody except for a creation of God. So it's not referring to God who had been in the garden. The only one left is that old serpent. Adam and Eve had already died. That's the only one we know that was in the Garden of Eden. And it says the workmanship, he had a beautiful, beautiful voice. And he was created. Okay? So here's the picture. Now listen to what he says. Thou art the anointed cherub that covered. So now, what do we have here? We have covering cherubs. This is anointed. These are anointed covering cherubs. So now we're finding that this individual who used his tail to trick people had been in the presence of God. Now, if you can understand what I'm getting at, this individual was very, very beautiful. Can you imagine, throughout all the time that you were there as another one of the angels, you come in, there he would be. He's the covering cherub. No wonder he was able to fool everyone else. They were friends and buddies and pals, just like you and I have friends and buddies and pals in this earth. We fall in love with each other as we're family and we're friends. He had a place right here in the presence of God. They didn't suspect, by the way, sin hadn't even begun yet. How would they have known that he was lying? They didn't know there was a such thing as a lie. You see? So he was an anointed cherub that covered. The covering cherub. It goes on to say in verse 15, Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created till iniquity was found in thee. So in other words, we have the angel here. One of these two angels used to be this covering cherub. Used to be the one that we know now as the devil or the dragon, the serpent, or Satan. But we know in this verse that he was perfect when he was created until iniquity was found. And in fact, we find in 1 John 3:8 it says, He that covereth sin, he that committeth sin is of the devil. For the devil sinneth from the beginning. He started sin. He's the one that started it. God didn't create a devil. He did not create an angel that was going to be the devil. No, he had everything. He had no need to do what he did. And we'll go, and the next one story will tell us what he did. Listen what it says here. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thy iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. In other words, the trading he did, by what he was doing, the merchandise that he was working with. He says, Thou wilt bring, Therefore I will bring forth a fire from the midst of thee, and it shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes. Now, a lesson in the near future is going to describe the ashes upon the altar of sacrifice and what they're designed to do. So remember this verse when it says, I will bring thee to ashes, okay? Upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. So what we have here is the angels that were created were also created to be sanctuaries. The sanctuary is designed to house the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Now, there's the third story. This story is going to give you a whole lot more detail, but it's going to tie into the other two stories as well. It starts out in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. And it comes right out and says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Now the angel has a name. Lucifer, how art thou fallen, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which does weaken the nations? You see, he deceives the whole world. Goes on to say, For thou hast said in thine heart. So, he's here. Do you know that you start things in your heart before anybody knows about it? In other words, you harbor an idea long enough, pretty soon it comes out and who you are. So, something he